Hey, peace world. I got to get out of here. About to go out here and ride in these extremely cold conditions. I wanted to talk about the Zaur Abdullaev stoppage of Jorge Linares, and in my opinion, that's a great win for him. And it's interesting that Top Rank went out here and got the ESPN Plus, got the fight to put it on ESPN Plus, but it shakes things up. Well, the ramifications, in my opinion, have me looking at the champions at lightweight, with it being unified champion George Kambosos Jr. and then Devin Haney. On one hand, Haney's victory over Abdullaev before when he only had one arm, before he ended up having a shoulder surgery after that. But he defeated him convincingly, Devin Haney. But I made a video earlier in the week talking about. I went in on the. I went to the trail boxing video for a second, as much time as I could give him, and the complaint was that Matchroom Boxing and the Zone was like discriminating or, not supporting the black fighter by not making sure that they gave Devin Haney the fight against George Kambosos Jr. for an undisputed fight. And this is what I'm talking. This is what I've been talking about for all fighters. It's imperative that you go out there and look great against the opponents that you're supposed to look great against. For Abdullaev to stop Jorge Linares, it was in his hometown in Russia. Linares is Venezuelan, and then also lives in Japan, or lives in trains in Japan or something. But yeah. But when you want Matchroom or you want the Zone to sign off on the money that it costs to get you the fight that you really want, that would help thrust you into boxing, quote unquote, stardom, you got to stop a guy like Jorge Linares, especially when you're looked at and viewed as the bigger lightweight. Somebody who should possibly be fighting up at super lightweight. And then so I don't know, man. Like I said, the cat on Trill Boxing wants to run out here and say that Eddie Hearn is changing up on Devin, and the Zone is doing this, and it's racism, yada yada yada. But you got to go out here and deliver, especially when you're supposed to be one of these promotional entities, marquee name. You gotta go out here and deliver when they set you up, when they set the table. You gotta eat. And I just felt like Devin didn't eat. I felt like he didn't eat again against Jojo Diaz, who's another very tough guy. But again, that's a dude coming up to lightweight, and you just have a fight, and you just get a solid decision. Okay. But you don't necessarily keep the ball rolling and build momentum to make others put the money in you that you believe should be put into you. And I say this because I was gonna get the audio for this, but I got stuff to do. But on this week's Chris Mannix's boxing podcast, his guest was Dan Raphael, and they got to talking about Kambosos and Devin Haney. And Raphael was like, look, Devin Haney was never in a discussion. The Zone did not want the fight. The Zone did not want to finance the fight. They did not want to pay for the fight. It was really never a really up for discussion. It went into some other talking points about it, and then you can sit here and tell me that Raphael is racist or he don't like black fighter. You whatever. But I'm just saying, this is a person that was in the game at one of the biggest platforms covering boxing, and he was their guy for years and has, networking, has certain conversations, access to different individuals that I don't have those types of insider conversations. But he put it out there and was vehement about it that Devin Haney doesn't drive subscriptions. Devin Haney does not sell tickets. Devin Haney does not deliver excellent fights. So that's why there was no push there to get that fight done for him. So I would suggest people go check that out. Like I said, you can listen to some brother sitting up on YouTube mad about a black fighter not getting an opportunity, and the game is rigged, and racism, prejudice, discriminatory. You can listen to somebody give you all of that, or you can look at kind of look at like basic business principles and look at stuff for what it is. It had nothing to do with racism. But anyway, and like I said, this victory. What's up, D-Lo? Yeah, man, I put it out on Instagram. I thought Linares was at least gonna drop Abdullaev at least once. But I was getting ready to get into that. Shout out to Abdullaev. I didn't have a lot of regard for the cat, but his defense was very he just leaned on the principles, on fundamentals. He kept his hands up the whole fight. If you looked at Linares, he had his lead hand down a lot. He was trying to rely on his legs to be a big part of his defense, manage the space. Abdullaev kept that left hand up the whole damn night. And Linares, it basically nullified Linares' right hand. His jab was pretty sharp, and he was snapping his head around through most of the fight, at least up to the 9th round, when Abdullaev got it cooking. But he just got frustrated. Like, he couldn't land the big shots that he wanted to. Abdullaev had a little bit of inch or two height advantage. Maybe his arms were a little longer and whatnot. Oh, okay. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't a burner or, a banger or anything. It's just a good fundamentally sound fight. And but yeah, he just he kept his left hand home, or held the telephone the whole fight, and Linares got frustrated. He couldn't land the big right hand. He did land some 1-2s earlier in the fight, maybe through the first 6 to 7 rounds, but he couldn't ever land the meaningful shots. He couldn't land the right uppercut. He did, maybe in the 3rd or 4th round, he did start committing to some body work a little bit more after seeing how hard it was to get to Abdullaev's head. But Abdullaev was just steady, and being that, all he was eating was jabs most of the night, he was very live in the 8th and 9th round. And he started landing some short combinations on Linares that rocked him, made him uncomfortable, made him unsettled. And, Linares, starting like the 9th round, he had a good welt underneath his right eye. And just his whole demeanor changed. His body language and everything changed. The dude is 36 years old. Now, the horrible thing was, I sit here and watch this fight, and I'm trying to see what they're going to do on the cards, because it was kind of close. But Abdullaev took off, kind of in the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th round. Like I said, he had kind of beaten the fight out of Linares, which is one thing that I said about Devin Haney. Okay, if you don't knock people out, you at least got to eliminate them as a threat late in the fight. You can't have a dude in front of you still trying in the championship rounds. If you don't have knockout power, you at least got to beat the fight out of people, or most of it. And he doesn't even do that. But yeah, so going into the 12th round on ESPN Plus, the feed goes off. You couldn't watch it. It was you got a technical difficulty error message. And I sat there for about 5 minutes hoping that it was going to come back and let me see the conclusion of the fight, even though who knows if they would have dropped you in real time, or if they would have brought it back and showed us the 12th round. So I sat here and watched like 2 or 3 bum fights, truly, painful watches. I sat through like 2 of them to get to this main event and get to the 12th round in a very competitive fight, a hard fought, well contested fight, and didn't even get to see the 12th round. I had to go online and see that Abdullaev actually finished off the job. He dropped him twice in the 12th round, and then at the 2:28 mark, from what the report said, the referee stopped the fight. So again, it makes you look at Devin Haney's win against Abdullaev when he was injured, when he had shoulder issues with one of his shoulders. But then you got to go back and look at Devin Haney against Jorge Linares and kind of question, why weren't you able to do this to this guy? So it's kind of, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. How big are you on Devin Haney? And I like Devin Haney. I want to see the most for the kid. But again, like I've tried to be honest about it. When I look at fight after fight, and I don't see certain things starting to jump off the screen when I see a certain trend developing, then I gotta adjust. I have to adjust my expectations and I have a reaction to what I'm watching on the screen. And then when you get fights like this with mutual opponents and whatnot, I gotta take all of that into account. And so, like I said, when I see that Matchroom, or when I see that the Zone isn't willing to open up the purse strings to make the undisputed fight happen, I see why. It's somewhat of a justified decision, business-wise, especially for a platform that is constantly fighting for his life in terms of relevance and support, and subscribers in this market. So it all makes sense to me. I don't know how you could expect him to do anything more just because you as a fan like somebody or love somebody, or you're an avid fan of somebody. That doesn't mean that people who put the money behind everything, and rent out venues and do ads and promotions and move broadcast crews and television equipment and pay for, that doesn't mean that the people who pay for all of this stuff, that doesn't mean that they're going to put their money where you think they should put their money just because you're excited about a fighter. So, again, like I said, man, people can sit up here and watch some of these different channels, and you got some brothers sitting here talking about who's racist and who's this and who hates this and who whatever. But you got to take a lot of things into consideration. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, it sucks that I didn't get to see the end of that fight after sitting through the first 11 rounds of it. But, that's one of the issues with some of these streaming sites and these, the apps and watching fights that aren't kind of like hardwired and, on one of these networks, versus some signal that's being beamed and streamed all throughout the planet and whatnot. But like I said, you can go find a decision out there online. You can Google stuff yourself and find it. The other thing moving, what's next for Abdullaev? I can't say that he really did anything. He did enough against Devin Haney for us to sit here and scream that they should run that back. If Devin Haney beat the man with one arm or one shoulder, and good, I can't see that I want to see that fight again. But like I said, this victory right here and the fashion that he got it in, it does make you take a second look at all of the details. And I have more questions about Devin Haney than I have answers. Especially going back to that Chris Mannix podcast with the discussion between him and his guest Dan Rayfield. It's kind of sad, The reality is, and speaking in terms of Devin Haney's next move and his future, I don't really see Devin Haney as a major player up at if he has to move to 140. I know body wise, it's been some talks of him, the difficulty that it is for him to make lightweight, the 135-pound max weight. But I really don't see him making a ton of noise up at 140. I don't think you can put him in there with just anybody. Obviously, ESPN controls the belts up there right now. But I wouldn't like Devin Haney against Subriel Matias, who isn't even a big name dude. But I wouldn't want to. I don't like his chances in that fight. Could he do well against Ramirez, who we'll see against Jose Pedraza in a few weeks or whatever? Maybe. Does he do well against Pedraza? Maybe. Could he go right in against a Josh Taylor? I think I've seen a little bit too much grit out of Taylor for me to take Haney against Taylor. Would him and Teofimo Lopez be good up there? Arnold Barbosa Jr., Zepeda, Robert Easter Jr., we don't know what his status is since moving up to 140 after being shot 3 times a couple of weeks ago in Cincinnati, and having surgery. So I don't know what I don't know where he fits into things. It's a lot of bodies. It's a ton of bodies at 140. I mean, you got Shojan Ergashev, you got the Brandon Lee kid that's coming up. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody important in there. 140 Regis Prograis is still out there at 140. It's some guys that to drop your lightweight title if you're Devin Haney and go up there and try to to work your way into an eliminator or mandatory position or get a title fight. It's really not all that. It's not easy. It's not an easy path forward for him there. Like I said, I'm interested to see what the next move is. Well, let me get on out of here, man. I gotta go knock this ride out. I don't know if I might probably have to catch Brooke and Khan on replay on demand. I lost some time already today. I got to go do some stuff for myself. So I'll holler at you next time. Bite down, boxing. Don't let them count you out. Pay me no mind. Sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.